You know, the events in our life, it's not so much the events in our life as much as how we respond to the events in our life or the situations in life. That's where it's at. It comes down to our response in life. So we have to have awareness in how we're responding to the events, to the emotions or the feelings of the past. You know, how are we responding to our program? It all comes down to the response. And unfortunately, you can't empower anybody else to do that for you. It all comes down to you. Only you can do that. You have to have that awareness, know who you are, and begin to challenge how you respond to the event. It's not the event that's creating the anxiety. It's not the event that's creating the stress. It's how you respond that's creating the stress. It's how you respond that's releasing the cortisol in your body that's making your neck hurt. You're giving you headaches, making you ache, making you move into that depression. I've been there. All this shit I'm talking about, I've been there. I know. But I refuse to live there. I refuse to stay there. We're all going to do with it. But it's a different thing if we're waking up every day enabling that to happen in our life. Okay? Only you can do it. I believe in you. Hey, this is Dave Goodwin. How you doing with Original Privateer? This video today, we're gonna respond to a couple comments I had regarding the last video titled "Fear Sucks," which can be found on our Facebook page. And one of the comments was, "Hey, this all sounds great. It's motivational. It inspires me, and I get what you're saying. But how do you do it? Like, how do you get over things? How do you change your life by taking a risk?" And break a pattern or a cycle that you may be in. So that's what we're going to get into today. And I promise you, if you apply what I'm saying in this video, it'll change your life. Part of life's journey and making changes in our life and living that life we want to live instead of just existing and living in this mediocre life that we for some crazy reason learn to accept, and versus pushing ourselves and taking a risk, taking chances, seeking adventure, and having that free soul and living life passionately, whether it's in your racing, riding, relationships, your marriages, whatever it is in life. Maybe you're dealing with some issues. Rather than pushing through that, sometimes we really get caught in this cycle. And I've been there. When you're in that cycle and you're dealing with depression and you're dealing with anxiety and pain, it's really tough to get out of that cycle. And when we start habitually thinking about it and really focusing on those things, it just manifests into a bigger, larger problem, which spurs all these new thoughts, all these new feelings and emotions. And before we know it, we're in the shit. And when you're in the shit, it is hard to get out of it. And we can go days like that, we can go months like that, or we can go years like that. So we're gonna get into that today. We're gonna focus on why we do what we do and why fear sucks, and how do we begin to make the changes? How do we begin to wake up every morning and be the best version of ourselves? That's what Original Privateer is about, is trying to influence you to think in a new way, to give you seeds of knowledge, to be the best version of yourself, whatever it is in your life. It can apply to anything in life. And one of the things, how do we do that if we don't have knowledge? How do we get better at something if we don't have awareness and have knowledge? I don't know how you would do it. I don't know how you'd become a better writer if you weren't working with better writers. I don't know how you'd be a better racer if you weren't learning from somebody better and getting new knowledge. I don't know how you deal with struggles if you weren't learning new ways of thinking. So I think reading, who you talk to, who you hang out with, what your belief system is, what you focus on, it's just so key. And the reason we don't change is because we don't open up our mind to new concepts, new ideas, and we just keep having the same limiting belief system that really stifles our growth. So it really requires us to take a huge risk and get uncomfortable, because as long as you're comfortable, you're going to be comfortable with existing. You're going to be comfortable with mediocre. You're going to be comfortable with your results. And what we want to do is influence you and inspire you and motivate you to be the best version of everything in your life. If you're in a relationship, why not do it passionately? Why not love passionately? Why not do things in a whole new way that just bring this whole new feeling to your life? The same with racing or riding or whatever it is you're dealing with, or this problem that you're dealing with. Let's push through that. And you have to do that by taking a stand on your life and knowing who you are. Knowing who you are is so key. And we're going to talk a little bit about learning how we have awareness of who we are, and we can begin to change that. So each one of us has a different background. Each one of us was raised differently. Each one of us has different experiences or events in our life, different struggles, different hurts, different pains, different successes. You know, we're all a little different. We're all unique. But, and uniqueness is great. You shouldn't be like everybody else, because you are unique. You're uniquely made. But the message we're trying to get across here is how to be the best version of your uniqueness, from a foundational sense, from a logical and moving into a logical sense, from a irrational to moving into a rational sense. So we're not talking about changing who you are from the aspect of your uniqueness. We're talking about the aspect of becoming the best version of yourself. And so let's start from the time we were born. From the time we were born, we began to be programmed. And that programming happens in our brain, or what they call the subconscious mind. That's where things are stored. We began to be programmed. And where did that programming come from? It came from our influences, from our moms and dads, our caretakers, could be whoever we were around, aunts, uncles. Our programming came from our experiences, our events, how we handled things. That generated emotions and feelings. You know, why is one kid different from the other kid? A lot of times it's how they were raised, or how they were influenced. Maybe they were influenced a different way. You know, and that's why we're different. What causes one kid to be really good about doing things and the next kid struggles with it? What causes one person to have a lot of anxiety and deals with anxiety issues or depression, and the next person doesn't? Or this person has trouble dealing with it and this person pushes through it. Why does that happen? Well, for starters, we have to realize we have a program, and it's just like a computer program. And that program is created from our influence when we're a young age, when we're not thinking on our own. We're just witnessing, we're watching, we're smelling, we're hearing, we're being taught a certain way. And that creates our program, which moves into adulthood. And when we move into adulthood or through our teenage years, we just keep building into that program. And we can build into that program in a positive way that gives you life, or we can build into that program that gives you death, not a physical death, but a spiritual death on the inside, a life of doubt, a life of fear, a life of not feeling worthy or good enough, versus feeling good enough, feeling confident, feeling secure, believing in yourself. So, you know, if you're spiritual, you know, the Bible talks about you have a choice between blessing and curses. You have a choice in between life and death. Choose life. You know, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. For those of you that are of the Christian faith, and I got friends of all different kinds of faith: Buddhism, atheist, agnostic, you name it. But our Creator wired us in a way that we can do amazing things. We have the human spirit is amazing, but if you don't have the tools or the knowledge, then we find ourselves from a young age growing older and older, and all we're doing is building into that program. And again, it could be positive or negative. So let's talk a little bit about that. So when we're born, we have a program in us. You have a program in you. I have a program in me. My kids have a program. Our spouses have a program, our moms and dads, everybody we know has a program in us. Now, how do we know what that program is? We know what that program is, and this is the key to life, is awareness. Having self-awareness, having self-discovery, knowing who you are. And how do you know who you are if you don't know how to know who you are? Okay? So you know who you are through identifying or running every thought, emotion, or feeling through a filter. Okay? The red flag should be going up. This is a bad feeling. This is a good feeling. This is a hurtful feeling. This is a wonderful feeling. This is pain. This is joy. There's clarity there. Excuse me. There's clarity there, right? But if you don't have that awareness, then we just naturally operate on autopilot out of our program, which resides in the unconscious or subconscious mind. We actually operate on autopilot. Just like when you go home from work every day, you probably take the same route automatically. Or maybe you respond to something automatically. And that's okay. But what about the person that wants to become a better version of themselves, whatever it is? They want to improve in different areas of their life, or they want to overcome things, or they want to change how they're doing things, and you don't have awareness. Then you're automatically just going to be, things are just going to happen automatically. And how do you do things automatically? It's no different than breathing, or how does your heart work? How does your heart beat? How does everything happen? It happens automatically through our unconscious mind, right? Well, we actually live life the majority of the time from our subconscious. So if we live the majority of our life from our subconscious, then how do we make that change to that program which resides in our subconscious mind? Our programming that started from a young age. How do we change that program to be overcomers? How do we change that program to deal with anxiety? How do we change that program to feel unworthy and go to worthy? Or insecure to secure? How do you change that program to feel good enough from ungood enough? Or not good enough, is that a word? You know, do you get what I'm saying? How do we do that? We do it through self-awareness, which happens in the conscious mind. So I got my helmet right here, okay? Picture this helmet. Inside of this helmet is your head. And that's where everything either falls apart or comes together. It's where victory is, it's where defeat is. It's where life is or a death is, not physical, internally. Because a lot of us are living, a lot of us are physically living and going day to day through our mundane patterns and working from our program, but we're dying on the inside when we should be loving life and loving passionately, forgiving. Forgiving doesn't make somebody's actions right. You know, it doesn't mean they weren't an asshole. It doesn't mean you're going to trust them, but it frees you. It frees you to continue on in your life and not focus on that. Because really that's what life comes down to, is what we focus on, what we pay attention to. So we have our subconscious mind inside of our helmet here, our brain. Okay, that's where our program is. That's where different events have happened in our life. That's where our emotions and our feelings and situations and our experiences are in our life. So if that's where our program is, and say we've had a lot of bad experiences that we can't get over, and these experiences create anxiety or worry or stress, how do we overcome that? We overcome that because, see this little bell symbol right here on this big, pretend this whole helmet is your brain. This whole helmet, the majority of it is your subconscious mind, where your program is, where we work from. Well, this little part right here, the bell symbol, is your conscious mind. That's where your awareness is. So if you're not activating your conscious awareness, you're not going to understand who you are. Okay? Did you get that? If you're not activating your awareness through your conscious mind, you're not going to understand your program, because you're not going to understand, hey, this emotion gives me anxiety. Hey, this feeling gives me anxiety. Hey, I remember when that happened. And think about that. when you're recalling from your program, isn't the majority of that from the past? So if the majority of it's from the past, and it's causing you anxiety and stress and worry, and causing you to come up short, causing you not to be secure, causing you to doubt yourself, causing it to destroy your confidence, and it's coming from the past, and we're not aware of it through our conscious mind. That's how small our conscience is, but it's so powerful in making that change in our life. And if we can understand that, everything changes. So when these memories or these experiences or your natural way of responding is coming up, if you have conscious awareness, you can say, oh, wait a second here, man. That's not me. That is not me. That ain't going to happen. And so what you do is you begin to rewire your program by changing what you're thinking about, changing what you're focusing on, changing what your goals are, what your vision is. Instead of focusing on the past and the hurt from the past, the memories from the past, you coming up short on the past, you're focusing in the present and having a belief system that supports it. You're having a belief system that, hey, you were born unique, you were born beautiful, you were born with a sound mind. You're capable of anything. It just takes a decision and a choice. But if you don't have awareness of your program, that program never has a chance of changing, and you're just going to keep repeating the cycle and the struggles year after year, person to person, race to race, and you're going to expect different results, but it isn't going to happen. So through this awareness, when you're going, oh man, this really stresses me out, why are you thinking about it? Change your thought. Assign a different value or a different meaning to those traumatic events in your life, to those stresses in your life, to those failures in your life. And that's where our failures and our stresses in life and our hurts in life, our struggles in life, if we assign the right meaning to it and support that meaning with the right belief system, those failures in our life can now become gifts that will fuel us, and we can learn from and get wiser from, and we begin to reprogram we actually begin to instill a new program in us, and we begin to tear down those negative experiences, those negative emotions or negative feelings. But if we do not have awareness of that, these negative feelings, emotions are going to surface, and anytime we have a certain thought, or we see a certain person, or we think about a certain thing. So what we got to do is we got to realize, what are we thinking about? What are we focusing on? What are we paying attention to? And through that awareness, we go, hey, I'm being lazy here. Hey, I'm really doubting myself here. So we begin to reshape our thought so that we can get back in control and be the architect of our life, and not let our program that started from a young age sabotage our life and stifle our life. That's where change occurs. And if we can understand those things, amazing things will happen. If you don't get that, don't expect change. But if you do get this and you start applying this knowledge to your life, your whole life will change. Because if you're somebody that deals with anxiety, for example, you're dealing with anxiety because you're worrying about something, right? You're worrying about something from the past. You're worrying about an event. You have certain feelings, emotions, and you're thinking on that thing. And what is it doing? Your brain is releasing cortisol, the stress hormone in your body, right? So you don't feel good, your muscles are tight, your back aches, your shoulder aches, you got headaches, because your body's releasing stress in your body. Your thoughts are so powerful that they create energy, they create vibration, frequency. Your thoughts can create sickness, they can create health. Okay, so if your thoughts are that powerful, why wouldn't you want to have the right thoughts? Why wouldn't you want to have thoughts that release oxytocin, which is happiness and a sense of joy, and it's something that's healthy? Why wouldn't you want to release that? If one thought releases cortisol, which is stress, and another thought releases oxytocin, why wouldn't you want to change your thoughts? Well, if you don't have awareness of what you're thinking about, then you're going to be operating out of your program. And depending on what your program is, it could be sabotage in your life. You know, do you have illness in your family? Cancer, could be anything. Do you ever find yourself worrying about it all the time? Where you're actually constantly releasing stress in yourself, worrying about it, and do you ever notice how you just don't feel good? Or when we're sick and we're thinking about it, and when we're thinking about it, we're taking all of our mental energy and putting it into that thought, and that thought has so much power over us, and all of a sudden we feel like shit. And as long as we keep thinking like that, we keep feeling shitty. But if we have awareness, which again, your conscious mind, conscious awareness, that we're thinking about those things, then we can go, oh, wait a second, man. No, I'm better than that. I'm better than that. I'm not believing in myself right here. I'm focusing on things that are not good for me. I'm focusing on the past. I'm not being in the present. I'm not focusing on my goal or my vision. So therefore, what we focus on is what we get. Okay? If we're not going to change our program or have awareness of it, then nothing's going to change in our life. It doesn't matter what person it is. It doesn't matter what motorcycle you're on, what event you're in, what town you go to, what job you go to. You're going to continue to work out of your program. Okay? That's where self-awareness comes. Have you ever noticed you can take a rider, say when it comes to the motocross world, one rider can get excited about hitting the big jump. The next rider has anxiety. Okay, what is the difference there? One rider is releasing cortisol in him and he's getting stressed. The next rider is getting excited and releasing oxytocin in his body, and he's going to go for it. Well, that happens because of his programming. That rider once was probably afraid to hit the big jump or the big ramp or whatever the case is, that new trick on your wake surfboard, whatever it is. That rider was once probably had a little bit of anxiety on it, but what did he do? He had awareness of that thought and said, oh no, I can do this. I believe in myself. I just need to practice more. I need to believe in myself. But if he didn't have awareness of that, he would build that program. He would just add to that program of doubt and fear. And then that would dominate him. That would rule him because his program is always going to take over. You know, so that's why you see one rider is not afraid to hit it. The next one is, because one rider refuses to say, oh no, I may not be able to do it now, but my goal and my vision is to do it. And he has all the belief system to support that. But that's all about knowing who you are. It's about identifying and having self-awareness and self-discovery of what it is that hurts you. What feelings are coming up? What emotions are coming up? Because every thought has an emotion. It's either good or bad. Every emotion creates a thought. You see how it snowballs? So if we can take control over our emotions and our thought life, everything changes. But if we're just going to live by our emotions, we'll never get it. If we're just going to live by how we feel, we'll never get it. Because we are the architects of our life. Don't settle for mediocre. Don't settle for it is what it is. That's bullshit. You can change your life and wake up and make a decision to choose to do things differently and rewire your program that you have within you. You can rewire that program. You can create a new program, an upgraded program. It's no different than going and buying a stock motorcycle off the showroom floor and then having it modified. We can do that. We can modify ourselves and begin to change that program. And guess what? If we're working out of our program over 90% of the time, wouldn't you want to have a good program? Or keep working from the tweak program that's full of pain and hurt and things that we haven't dealt with? It's going to stifle us. So if we have awareness, we can begin to reprogram, and we reprogram by habitually, in other words, making good thoughts a habit. You know, when we have a bad thought, nope, we overcome that with a good thought. And we keep doing that, and we keep doing that, and we keep doing that. Before we know, it's a habit. And before we know, we don't even have awareness of it anymore because we're working out of our program and it's natural and our life is flowing like we want it to flow. We're happy in our relationships. We're happy in our racing. We're overcoming anxiety and stress. But if we don't know who we are and realize how our program is and have awareness of it, it'll never change. You've got to get that. It'll never change. Now, that's not to say you ain't gonna have problems. It's not to say you're gonna have events in your life. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this is easy. But take a stand on your life. Draw a line in the sand. Take that risk. Get uncomfortable and change. Have awareness of things, okay? Have awareness and your life will change. I promise. Take that risk. Have that awareness. Our thoughts are so powerful. Why wouldn't we want to have good thoughts and manifest good things in our life? The one thing I want to note about this awareness, this is really key here. This is really key and you got to do it. When we have conscious awareness or awareness, self-awareness of our program, of the thoughts that we're thinking, which are creating the emotion, which are creating the anxiety, the stress, the worry, whatever, what we're focusing on, what we're paying attention to. When you have that awareness, it's just like being on a starting gate. Your reaction time to change that thought or to take authority over it has to be quick. If you don't get a handle on it quick and get a good launch, your program's going to take over. Your program's going to take over and you're going to fall into that cycle and you're going to fall into that pattern. When you have that awareness and you realize when you get up in the morning, you're thinking about the past, you're thinking about what happened yesterday, you're thinking about thoughts that hurt you, you're thinking about what she did, he did, what he isn't doing, what she isn't doing. Or if you wake up in the morning and you're sick and you're focusing on your sickness and you're focusing on, you know, oh man, this happened to so-and-so, and all this anxiety comes over you, your reaction time to changing that thought and rising above and making a decision to change that thought, to realize you're enough, to realize you have that power, to realize that those thoughts you have are so powerful. And if you don't change that thought into something positive and that contains power, your program will take over. And that's why people that have anxiety issues have anxiety, because they do not have that reaction time. They get to dwell on it. They get to thinking about it, and they never cut it off. So that program is strong in them, and that program is going to fight against you. That's why you got to make it habitual. You got to make it a habit that constantly go to battle with it, constantly go to battle with it, constantly change. And that's when that change will actually begin to rewire your program, and it'll begin to happen naturally, and it'll get easy. So at first it's going to be really hard. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's worth it. Take the risk. Take that risk. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to feel right. It's not going to feel normal because it's going against your program. It doesn't feel normal. What you're doing, it doesn't feel normal at all. But it's the right thing to do, and that's how we change. We want you to believe in yourself. You're beautiful. You're sexy. You're good looking. Your body looks great. If it's not where you want, make the change. Go do what you need to do to get to where you want. Don't be comparing yourself to everybody else. Don't be comparing your boobs to her boobs, your ass to her ass, his ass to whatever's ass. Okay? Don't be comparing yourself. That is the worst thing that you can do for yourself. Believe in yourself. Know you're enough. Make the necessary changes. If you're not where you want to be, make that change. Make that decision. Your life will change. So I want to give a quick shout out to Vince out there in Vegas with PSC, Psycho Sports Cartel. He hooked me up with his new tee, Moto and Ink. If you haven't been to psc.com, Psycho Sports Cartel, they're big into the FMX world, freestyle motocross world. He's got some cool stuff, cool sprockets. They got some really gnarly stuff out there. So Vince out there in Vegas, PSC, thanks for the Moto and Ink shirt. Man, this thing is comfortable, man. Really comfortable. Thanks a lot. Please share these videos, tag a friend. We hope they help. Comment. Man, we just want you to begin to love life, begin to make the change. We want to influence you with different tools, different mindsets. You can do this, okay? I love you guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.